Good morning. Good morning. I'm Dr. Petra. Good morning welcome to the CSLDallas Science of Mind class. Happy to be with you on Labor Day weekend. Happy Labor Day weekend. Happy Labor Day weekend to everybody who labors, right? For all the ways in which we labor. As huge shout out to Dr. Tracy Brown for being with us for a month while I was on vacation. Fabulous, fabulous to know CSLDallas and the Science of Mind class are in such wonderful hands. Also, you may notice we have new art. Super excited about that. Sharon McGregor, she's a practitioner with us. She has been our nursery person forever. She is a fabulous singer. She does have a job, but, you know, who cares about that? And we have discovered she's an artist. So we're super excited to have her as our art this month. All right. So I do know that Dr. Tracy finished the general summary with you guys in the month of August, which I was hoping it would work out perfectly so that today, September, first Sunday in September, we could start at the beginning again. And Willie and I were just talking about it. Gosh, this is probably the 6th time we'll be starting the walk through the Science of Mind. And it sounds about right because it takes us about 5 years. It takes us about 5 years to get from the beginning all the way through to the end of the general summary. And yeah, that's a long time. So we are starting round number 6. I just really, really, really love that we're doing this together. I encourage you to stick with it. One of the things that's really true is that each time we go through it, we find new things. We find something new we haven't heard before. Or equally as valuable, we find things that on the last reading didn't make sense or didn't resonate or we just really didn't pay a whole lot of attention to. Whereas this time through, all of a sudden, something jumps off the page or is meaningful in a way that it's never been meaningful before because we've grown. We've grown spiritually. Our spiritual experiences have grown. Our self-awareness has grown. And things that were either puzzling or we just didn't really get what the point was, all of a sudden, there it is, and we recognize something, and it moves us again to the next level. So each time we go through, we can get deeper and deeper and deeper into our understanding of the nature of reality, into our understanding and practice of living life from a spiritual point of view, and a deeper realization of what's actually going on and who and what we are. So if you've been on this journey as long as Willie and I have been together, if you're new to us on this journey, welcome to the beginning of the Science of Mind. Now, so since we're at the beginning, let's just do a little tiny history lesson, kind of set the stage, see where we are. Ernest Holmes wrote The Science of Mind in 1926. There is an original version of this Science of Mind written in 1926. In 1938, that original text was edited. Ernest Holmes edited it. Can't say that too many times fast. With a woman named Maud Latham, who was at the time the editor of the Science of Mind magazine. And they added the introductory chapters, the 4 introductory chapters. He rearranged it to really do the sections as we find them now. The first section is basically on the theory. The second section is primarily on the practice. And the third section is on spiritual deepening in general. The fourth section then is on the teachings of Jesus, and then the prayers and meditations at the end. And so he took some things out that he felt were distractions of the practice or the learning about and the practice of the Science of Mind. But there are some fascinating sections in the old original version. There's a whole section on psychology, the very nascent psychology with Freud, which is absolutely fascinating. He has a whole section on psychic phenomenon, spiritualism, all of that, which is also really fabulous. shorten the whole reading of that with what it says is, oh, clairvoyance, well, of course, we're all one mind. Oh, telepathy, well, of course, we're all one mind. Oh, right, over and over and over again. Well, if we're all one and we're all part of the same one mind and the same infinite reality, of course all these things exist and they all happen, but they are not the experience of the one. They are simply phenomena on a different level. And so all of that was removed because it became a distraction. You could get very, 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 what should we say, not caught, but enthusiastic about practicing things that actually aren't fully engaged in the understanding and the practice of science mind. And so there was some rearranging, some taking out. I love going back to that old textbook and reading some of that stuff. But we always use the 1938 edition of the Science of Mind. Now, the other really wonderful thing about the newer versions, there is a leather-bound edition. There's something called the definitive edition, which is the one we tend to use, and it has a phenomenal foreword by futurist and anthropologist Jean Houston. It's really extraordinary. Totally worth reading. Like 2.5, 3 pages. Actually, truthfully, the forward and introduction of almost any book is worth reading. And so there's a lot of knockoffs of the Science of Mind you can get on Amazon. There are like abridged versions, or they've taken a few chapters, put it together, and published it as the Science of Mind. So if you're looking for the particular book that we're working with, it's the definitive edition of the 1938 version of the Science of Mind, and it has the Jean Houston foreword to it. There's also a book that you can get that has the old and the new all in the same book. The problem is the 1926 textbook is first, so all the page numbers don't agree. So if I say we're on page 10, that's going to be page 798, because the whole first book is in that combined version. It's also, it's very interesting. This is my 7th Science of Mind. My first 3 you can't take off the shelf because they're falling apart. This one I use specifically for this class. So it's great. It's a great walk that we do as we go through and see what's here for us. All right, so I think that's it. I think that's the history lesson for today. Kind of settles us in. And so in the foreword, in Jean Houston, in the foreword, she writes this: if I were to state the essence of the teachings of the Science of Mind, it would be that the highest God and the innermost God is one God. The core of each human being is the original creative genius of the universe. We are, therefore, the lensing of God's stuff on earth, the focalization of eternity in time. Consciously or unconsciously, we direct the flow of universal mind into form. In homier terms, the cosmic engine is started, but we guide it in our own life. This grants us tremendous power, and with it the innate responsibility to make or break our world through the extraordinary working power of our minds. So that's her synopsis of what she thinks the Science of Mind is about. Her foreword is very forward-thinking, and how much this work that we do, walking this philosophy, living this faith and way of life, is not just for ourselves, but it is also about our contribution to the world, our contribution to consciousness, our contribution to the consciousness of humanity, lifting us into a more conscious, awakened humanity, that each one of us actually contributes to that, especially when we are engaged in our lives consciously. Again, we're going to say over and over and over again, we want to remember that the 1938 version was written in 1938. So what does that mean? That means archaic language as far as we are concerned. At that time, man was still used instead of human being or individual. He was still used to mean everybody. And so you'll notice that whenever I read it or quote it, I am constantly gender neutralizing it. I think it's incredibly important because we live in a different era today. In addition, Ernest Holmes was writing primarily to a Christian audience, much less pluralistic than we are today, although a growing pluralistic society, and an audience that was still used to the word God, and he as the acronym, as the pronoun for that. If you read his writings and you look in the Science of Mind and you look over time of his other books, you'll notice that in his earliest writings, he starts out using God and he, and as the book progresses, he starts using spirit and it. In his later writings, he's almost exclusively using things like universal spirit, universal mind, and it, as opposed to the pronoun he. And these shifts, these language shifts are really important because we don't realize what a internal subconscious engagement we have the moment we hear the word he or the word God. And we can, what should we say? We can say, well, it doesn't really matter because we know that it means everyone. And yet there is a subconscious response to these words. And so it feels very important to me when I read it out loud, I gender neutralize it. And I encourage you to do the same as you're reading it out loud. Gender neutralize it about the human being and about the infinite reality as that is being also spoken about. In addition, one of the most interesting things that can be challenging is the idea that it's the science of mind, and over time, that word mind has come to be equated with the intellect. But originally, the word mind was equated with the Greek word psyche, which is actually our conscious and subjective experience of reality, which includes our minds, our emotions, and our somatic experience of life. So we know today that we have brain cells in our brain, we have brain cells in our heart, and we have brain cells in our gut. Intellect, emotions, and body, somatic knowledge and knowing. And so the original Greek word psyche meant the whole of it. Many people have picked up the phrase that Ernest Holmes uses a few times in the book, the science of mind and spirit, to help bridge the gap, the current gap that we have when we use the term mind, thinking that we mean a rational, cerebral, brain-focused way of engaging with life. Rational, yes. Reasonable, yes. But not exclusive to a left brain intellectual engagement. And so we want to acknowledge that sometimes these words, they can land with us in a way that actually isn't the original intent. The other thing is, since 1938, what's happened is an entirely new wave of the study of consciousness, which is actually that whole engagement with life. What are we conscious of? Is life conscious? Is the astrophysicists will say, I looked out into the universe and I saw consciousness or intelligence looking back. What does that word mean? How do we even know that we're conscious? And so in today's language, if Ernest Holmes was writing this today, I often think that he would have titled it The Science of Consciousness as a much broader term closer actually to the Greek original term psyche than to how we currently use the word mind. So these are some of the things that we also want to keep in mind as we're reading. We do have to contextualize the writing. We have to contextualize it in its time and place, who he was talking to, how he was habituated in writing. There are some passages in the Science of Mind that have been taken out because they were blatantly bigoted. They were blatantly coming out of a viewpoint that certain people were less than others. And over time, Centers for Spiritual Living has said, no, that's not what we believe. And so we are going to stumble across things that are contextually from the time period in which he was writing. And so what we want to do, and one of the reasons why we do this, is we want to bring it to today. We want to understand, how do we apply it today? What does it mean today? How do we bring it up? How do we engage with it today? And one of the things that Ernest Holmes himself said about the Science of Mind is that it's open at the top. So we're actually going to read scientific conversations that are no longer valid, because when he was writing, that's what they knew. That's how they understood the world. So there's, like, for instance, a whole section on ether, which is no longer understood as one of the building blocks of the universe. We would perhaps rewrite that whole chapter and call it energy. Or today, we might even rewrite that whole chapter and call it the quantum field. Right? And so there's nothing wrong with that. There's, for us to continually push our understanding by adding our newest scientific understanding, whether it's quantum physics, whether it's neuroscience, whether it's contemporary biology. All of these things help us understand things, bringing all our understanding of psychology and philosophy to the table, and helping us engage with it from today's point of view, from where we are today, and really in really using that process to break open our own habituated, unconscious, culturally induced biases and pictures that we have about reality and how reality works. Not just, let's say, the term God, if we grew up in a religion that used that term, but also as simple as how we learned about the atom. The atom is something very different today than what I learned about the atom in school, because they've discovered so much more about it. And so we're going to bring all of that to our reading. The other thing that is really powerful about the idea of being open at the top is also that we don't hold Ernest Holmes as a guru, nor do we hold this as an inviolate sacred text. I will tell you that for me personally, the Science of Mind is my source text. I grew up Roman Catholic. I went to the Episcopalian Church. I didn't read the Bible until I was in ministerial school in the Science of Mind. Catholics don't read the Bible. Somebody reads it to you and tells you what it means. And so we didn't really do the whole Bible thing. And so while I grew up in a Judeo-Christian household, in a Judeo-Christian culture, my spirituality has been primarily formed by reading the Science of Mind. And that's my source text. And so we get to examine what our sources are for our belief systems. What of that still resonates? What do we carry around with us that no longer serves us and yet is still lodged back there, that gets brought up as we read words or read thoughts or read ideas and ask ourselves, what does that mean? Do we believe that? Do we think that's how it is? And what all of that means is you don't have to stand in lockstep with the science of mind and say, yes, I take it as the gospel truth. I believe every word that was spoken, and this is all there is, right? We would never do that. Actually, I have two pretty significant beefs with the science of mind. I think there are two places where Ernest Holmes made a philosophical misstep, and I get to do that. So do you, right? And so as we're going through the book and the reading, I mean, I will illuminate what I think is the most important things that we might be reading about, but you might have a different reading. Or something about it might catch you differently, and that's important. Or you might go, wait, I don't get it. I'm not sure I not only don't understand, I'm not sure I agree. My job is to present to the best of my ability what I think the science of mind teaches, and to be able to illuminate, and here's how I understand it, or here's how I agree or disagree. And then you get to take it up however you take it up. You get to own those parts of it that really speak to you, and you get to leave behind what doesn't. Because I think that's also really important. We get to ask questions, we get to examine, and we get to grow into deeper and deeper and deeper understanding and engagement with the material. Yeah. What else do I want to say about this? What else do you want to say about this? Before we dive in, let's see what thoughts you have about taking up this brand new walk through the science of mind. What are you particularly interested in? What has been your experience? I know some of you have been with us for a while. What's valuable about this walk? Yeah. So let's check in with Joseph. Ryan's out this weekend, so we have Joseph with us. So let's check in with Joseph and say good morning, and say good morning to those of you online and all of you here in the room.
Good morning. How are y'all doing today? It's good to be here. Just want to let you guys know a few things. This is an engaging conversation, so if you want to participate with us, there's a couple of ways you can do that. First is for the guy, you all here in the room. If you have a question or a comment, you can simply raise your hand, and myself or Richard will bring you a handheld mic. We ask that you use that mic so that everyone online can hear your question. And the second is for you guys online. If you're on Zoom, you can simply tap the raise your hand icon, and I'll ask you to unmute your mic. At that point, I'll ask you to join the meeting. For all of you who are joining us on Facebook, you can simply type your questions or comments in the chat box, and just want to let you know that we keep your identities discreet, so you don't have to worry about your privacy being exposed to the world if that's not your preference. Otherwise, how are you all doing today? You want to raise your hand?
So we'll take comments, either here in the room, comments, questions, thoughts, either here in the room or online, about diving once again into the science of mind and into this work together. What has worked for you? What are you excited about? What are you interested in? What comment do you want to make? Here we go. Please remember to say your name. Hi. Oh, other way around. Sorry. Other way around.
That's too funny. I'm Willie, still. And I think that thinking back to the beginning, when I first came here, one of the main things that kept me coming back, that hooked me in, was every Sunday you said, accept what is here for you today. And that didn't mean I had to accept every single word that came out of every single person's mouth. It just meant that I could mull it over during the week, think about it, process it, and use it in my life if it felt like it worked for me. Yeah. And I didn't feel like someone was trying to drag me down a rabbit hole.
Beautiful. Thanks, Willie. Thanks for sharing that, and I love that. Can you pass that right back there to JL? Thank you so much, Willie.
Hi, this is JL. So one of the things I love about coming here is that no matter if I stop and start, like I was tardy for this party, but I can still comment.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
I know exactly how I feel about being and indulging into the science of mind. It also makes me understand that, what really appealed to me is because I came from such a strict religious background that I didn't want to be a part of anything that I thought was church or that I thought was going to demand my attention. And so when I first walked in here, I did not feel that. And even now, after, is it 7 years now? But after 7 years, I love being in a place where I feel like it's okay for me to say, no, I can't do that today. And it's okay.
Beautiful. Yay. I love that. Thanks, JL. And I love that you said that. Even if you're tardy to the party, whether it's in person or online, join us when you join us, right? I mean, that's what's so great. And we just keep moving along and there's always space. There's always something to share and talk about. All right, let's check in. Oh, one more. Oh, great. Thanks.
Yes. Hello, this is Terry. And
Hi,
as
Terry.
a lot of you know, I just started in February, so I'm brand new to the science of mind. And I just really appreciate what you were saying in the introduction, because just this morning I started, so a couple of months ago I started reading this thing called You. And that is the text for the upcoming class. So I was rereading that, and I found some notes in there that I copiously made in the margins of the book back in April. And as I was rereading something in chapter 3 this morning, it just went to a deeper level.
Yeah.
So I just, just stick with it. And I hope I get well. How you are. Soon.
Yay. Fabulous, Terry. I love that. And I love that you have done so much work yourself that literally in 7 months, you've already experienced the going deeper when we practice it, right? It's one thing to read the book and go, oh, that's nice. I like what that says. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then go on with our day and our lives exactly the way that we've always done it. But when we really commit to dig in, when we take the classes, come here, be in the community, do the work, and then do the work personally at home with ourselves in our own lives, it changes everything. So I really appreciate that. And JL, I do want to also come back to one of the things that you said, or actually didn't say, but my experience is one of the things that's been so great about having you in this class is JL's never been afraid to ask a question, right? Never. Wait. And then, but what about this? And well, I learned that, and this is really hard. Right? Which is really great, because the other thing you have to remember is anytime you ask a question or make a comment, you are speaking for somebody else in the room. You're always speaking for somebody who maybe doesn't have the courage or hasn't formulated it yet. And that's always been a fabulous gift. And a modeling that, right, we're not asking you to drink the Kool-Aid. We are asking you to try the Kool-Aid. Right? And I love a dear friend of mine years and years ago, when she first really decided she was going to just go for it, hook, line, and sinker. She was going to buy in and work it. She actually said to me, I love this. She said, I don't know whether I believe all of this or not, but when I pretend I do, my life works better. And I thought, oh my God. Sometimes we wait to believe it before we apply it. But it is in the applying it, trying it, practicing it, testing it, which is why it's called a science, because we test it out, that we begin to experience some of the reality of what it is we're learning. And so she went on to pretend herself into some pretty amazing things. By simply deciding that she was going to act as if it were true. And because one of the things we do then is we look for all the exceptions. Well, what about this? And what about that? And what if, and what if, and what if? Right? And and what we're looking for are all the ways it doesn't work or isn't right or those kinds of things. And so to have a willing suspension of disbelief, not as in drinking the Kool-Aid, but more as in, what if I pretended this was true? What if I imagined it really was true, that I was an individualized expression of life itself, that there was something valuable about what I thought and believed, that I really could, in fact, make a difference in my own life and in the life of other people. What if I pretended that were true? What if I imagined that were true? What if I acted as if that were true? Not only in the world, but also up here, acted as if it were true. And then we get to experiment and play. So, yeah, thank you. Thanks, everybody. Let's check in, Joseph, with you. Any comments to bring in from online?
At the moment, there's no comments. I guess everybody's still having their coffee and donuts. And
all right.
Feel free to raise your hand and jump in, guys.
Yep.
Hopefully you're enjoying this as much as I am.
Well, I know for some folks that have been around for a long time, the history lesson is not new. And yet for those of us, for folks like Terry, people who are brand new to us, right, it's important for us to go back and kind of set the stage again. And it looks like we have another comment. Never.
Thankful.
Never.
I get to comment because it's so thrilling to me to see this at work. And as you know, my story throughout the years, I do not bend over easy. So I'm a little stubborn, you know, and I think what CSL has taught me, what the teachers have taught me in New Thought is you're not trying to tell me what to think, right? It's how you can think and how applying this teaching can really do it for me. And I think that's was the dogma that I came from was like, you have to stay in this box, okay? But instead, just like these open discussions, we start with a couple of paragraphs, and then everybody gets to explore what that feels like for them individually. Yeah. So thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. And I love that. I mean, it is something that we really speak about because it's the science of mind. And so it has very much to do with our thinking, conscious and subconscious thinking, our perspective, all of that. And to begin to become self-aware, that's what it means to be conscious of our consciousness, to become self-aware and to notice what's going on. Beautiful. Thank you so much. All right. It's pretty quiet out there, so that is really good. So the other thing I'm going to say, or not so good, please feel free to comment. So the other thing I'm going to say, too, is that we also like to keep you informed every week. You can see where we are. And so if you are a regular participant in our Sunday morning Science of Mind class, you can read along. Right? You can read ahead. You can go back and read over what we've been talking about. It's a great way to deepen in the practice and in your own exploration. Right? That is the point, is to explore it for yourself. But exploring isn't enough. And you have to apply it. And you have to practice it. And that's where the discipline and the diligence comes in, and the community support. When we fall off, somebody can pick us up. We can be there to pick somebody else up. Remind each other of what we believe is true, how we might practice it, have compassion, because we all forget, and we all revert, and we all behave out of old patterns, right? And we all get to wake up over and over and over again. All right, so you're going to start reading at page 1. Actually, it's not page 1, it's page 25. Because there's a whole boatload of things in mine before that. In this particular version, there's a lovely textbook, the Science of Mind textbook in 1 year. It's like a devotional that you can follow through. But you're going to start on page in 25. This is the first page of the first 4 introductory chapters. The thing itself, the way it works, what it does, and how to use it. And it is a bit of an overview of the teachings, and then we dive in quite a bit deeper when we get to that first section on the theory. So go ahead and start reading the thing itself. right? Isn't that, and I love that. It doesn't say God, right? The thing itself, what it is, how it does, what it does, and how to use it. So we're going to start there next week. Have a fabulous Labor Day weekend. Enjoy your day tomorrow. Hopefully you have it off as well. We'll see you at the celebration service in 30 minutes, or we'll see you online, or we'll see you in class. Universal Spiritual Principles. I'm teaching a morning class and an evening class starting this Tuesday. A morning class and an evening class, Universal Spiritual Principles and Practices, as we articulated. It's a 5-week class. It's an essential course. Takes the place of Foundations. If you want to reset your understanding of the new articulations, or you've not taken courses, this is a fabulous place to start. So sign up today, and we'll see you in class. Bye for now.